Hello there. So, I recently got a comment from King Crimson. So, I'm going to be making Jean-Pierre Polnariff. So, first thing you want to do also is make sure you get the right head shape. The reason I select a color is just so it becomes easier to get the right eyes. Otherwise these might look like purely black dots and then you'd get the wrong eyes for the job. You also want to make sure it lines up with their actual head shape. And of course you can move this around if you want to. You next want to go to makeup. And again, using this as a source for reference, which I will place in the top left corner, we need to match these things up. So the first thing you really want to do is you want to go to the nose, because the nose is by far the easiest and most important part of this. If you get the nose wrong, then you're going to get everything else wrong. So as you can see here, it's got the shape of the nose is somewhat of a triangle, a circle right here, a line going upwards, another line going upwards on the other side, 4 short lines between, and then we can focus on other stuff. Now, as there is no nose option, you have to go to Sticker, Apply Makeup, find this option, Edit Makeup, rotate it exactly halfway, adjust size, make it smaller, move it down, apply makeup. Want to get the thick line. The thin line is not always good. It is occasionally good. Edit the makeup, rotate it about 90 degrees, adjust the size. It needs to be thinner as well. I always get those things confused. And it doesn't have to be perfect. That right there will work. Now we want to copy it. Take the copy, move it to the other side, and adjust its size, make it about half length, and move it downwards. Next up, we need to apply 2 more curves. Again, we'll just copy one of them from the other. Get the thin one, rotate it at about 45 degrees this way. Make it thinner, and want it to be a bit... Okay, I don't know how to comment on this anymore. Just make sure it's a wider than it is tall. We might have to move the eyes and eyebrows up, that's okay. And like I said, you might have to rotate it some more. It's not an exact science. It's mostly just trial and error. Copy it and rotate the clone the other way. Adjust its size so that it's just a smaller version of the other thing. Move it to the other side. Now, if you look there, you'll see that this tip lines up with the tip of the eyes, and the other one goes to the top of the eyes. So that will be about where it is. Next, we need to go back and edit the Me to change the position of the eyes to be much higher. Eyebrows too. Now that's much better. Next, you'll see he has somewhat of a butt between his eyebrows, so let's go ahead and make that. Go ahead and just copy that. Rotate it so that it's facing upwards, and adjust the size so that it's now taller than it is wide. Move it, make it not that tall, and make it not that long. That's about good. Next, we're gonna clone that and just make it bigger. Now, as we go on, this will become more and more complicated. So let's go ahead and move over to the bottom of the nose, where we can see that there's a small line there. This is to indicate that it's the edge of his nose, So I'm going to save this for now and show you what I did with Jonathan, mainly because I forgot it myself. So when there's a character's nose, often it'll be the other side of the nose that shows, but what we do here is we take one of these flag symbols, and then usually we do a bunch of stuff with this to make the squares in the bottom. For that part, I'm just going to find the flag symbol, move it downward, make it as wide as the nose, and as tall as it needs to be the shadow of the nose. Change the color, decrease the opacity, and then make it about the right color. Doesn't need to be perfect. Next up, I guess you'll want one of these squares, because I just realized while making this that what I did last time was actually very ineffective. Okay, that's pretty good. Finally, there are 4 lines inside his nose, so we're going to make those. Just clone this one. Move it slightly to the right. And make it smaller. These are decreasing in size each time. Some more drastically than others. Three should be good because the 4th one is very hard to see and wouldn't blame you for mistaking it for a dot. Let's move on to the eyes. Now the eyes have their own section and will be removed-ish. But you also need to focus on, look at Polnariff's eyes, basically. So what shape is that? It's kind of a footballish shape, and luckily we have a footballish shape in the editor to work with. So take this, and of course we're going to squish it real hard because Polnariff has those real thin eyes, and he also has real long eyes, stretched almost to the edge of his head. I'm going to move them about right here. Maybe make them a bit bigger because we're going to be covering them anyways. And then we're going to change their color to pure white. Now when we do this, we also need to edit the me because the eyes are showing behind the eyes. So we need to move their position out wider to be in the center of what are the current eyes. Now also on the eyes, as you can see, is an outline that reaches most of it but not all of it. So we're going to take a line, one of these lines, we're going to adjust the size so that it's thick enough to do this, and then long enough to do that. So now we have this. We're going to clone them and move the clones up to the top of the eye. And these are even longer. Or are they? Yes, they are. Apply more makeup. Find the eyelashes section. And find the one that best suits Polnariff. We need one that curves with about 3 little things at the bottom, which we can flip it if we need to. But they need to be little things. This is about good. Squish it, make it smaller. Move it so you can actually see what you're doing. Rotate it so it's facing the right direction. Move it again. Too much. So this is actually what we want for Polnariff's eyes. So we're going to take these guys, we're going to invert them and then rotate them so they're the right direction. We're going to squish them this way. Move them so they're looking about like that. Let's go ahead and... yeah. Needs more squishing. That's about right. Finally, there's a curve. Take the thick one. Squish it down. Make it a little smaller. Move it over here. Needs to be even smaller. Not that small. Rotate it so it's facing the right direction. Move it down. It's probably good. And now finally, we're going to take our bottom stuff and move them down about a step or two. Alright, now we got polnariff size. Except, he looks like Herobrine. So we're going to go in and find eyes that look kind of like his. Which, the way he squints his eyes makes it so that we need one of these guys. This looks about right. Make it significantly smaller. We're about right there. Even significantlier. There we go. Finally, change color to dark blue. In fact, I would probably go right there. It's probably polnariff size. So now you have part 1 character's eyes, or that's how you would make them. You just need to go off references. I'm about to do things in eyelashes. You need to do them in eyebrows instead. Otherwise, it'll be part of the eyes instead of part of the eyebrows, and it'll curve wrong. So just know that I did that wrong, and I don't want to undo it. Just needs one of these. Move it upwards. Rotate it. Move it downwards again. Make it longer. One side needs to reach just over there, and the other side needs to go pretty far back. That should be good, but let's go ahead and squish that some more. Move it back into position. Move it down. Don't forget to change his eyebrow color to black. Actually, new editing. Looks to me like we can go without eyebrows, because they're just going to get in the way. So now, it's the point where we realize that everything is wrong. Go to other, where we have these two, and move them down so they're actually in position. There we go. Now when we go back to eyelashes, there's a small curve there. But we're not going to get the regular curve. We're not going to get one of these guys. Instead, we're going to get one of these. Rotate it into position. Okay. And on the other side, we see that there's a little bit of a thing going on. So we need to make the real small shaped horseshoe thing that he has going on. We actually need the thickest version of this. Otherwise it'll just be invisible. And the last thing you want is invisible makeup, because then you're just wasting your time. You've been adding it and then you're wasting your resources. So then you end up with a problem where you can't move anything any further. Even though that's where you need it to. So what do you do in this situation? Pretend like it's intentional. Okay, next step. Since we have the eyebrows made, we want to go back to the nose forehead area. And as you can see, there's that weird thing that's going on there. That's a somewhat curvy line, which is oddly reminiscent of this thing. So rotate it in that direction. Adjust the size to fit accordingly. Okay. Next we have another part that leads right up to his hair. And this looks kind of like one of these things. So we're going to take that, rotate it, adjust the size, make it very thin, move it, make it as thin as that other thing, long enough that it can fit. And then we learned that I was wrong on this thing. The rotation is actually not as sharp as I thought it was. Move it into position, grab this other thing, move and rotate it until it fits. There we go. Now we have that side done. Next we need to add a half curve. One of these guys, edit it, adjust the size till it's small enough, find out we got the wrong one, delete it. Grab this half curve, rotate it till it's about the position of another one of those things, but half of them. Move it into position, adjust the size accordingly, adjust size again. This time make it just shorter. It's the wrong one. Move it towards the other thing. Rotate it a little bit. Move it. There we go. Apply a new thing. We gotta get a big curve. Rotate it this way. It's about the right length already. We just need to shrink it. Okay. Now we just need a very thick line. Not thick. Just need a very line. Move it here. Rotate it so it's the right angle. It's not the right angle. Adjust size till it's thin enough. 2 clicks to the right-ish. Rotate it. There we go. So now there's a lot of fine details, but we'll get to that after we're done with the mouth. So when we get to the lipstick, we can of course look at his mouth and see that his mouth is basically this one curve, a line underneath, and then this dark shadowy thing under between the two. So since that's his mouth, we're going to make that his mouth. Now that's the reason that we have his mouth in the one that we have, so that we can simply, well, first we need to go to the me, figure out how wide his mouth is relative to his body. So we know that it goes about between the eyes. So what we can do is we can size it up so that it's about right there. That's where I think the center of the eyes are. Shrink it down like that and move it up. That's probably good. We need to go to the me editor. Forgot about the nose already being there. Move it down a click. Yeah, it needs to go down 2 clicks. In fact, let's go to the nose. Move it down to absolutely nothing left. Because his chin is a lot lower than I think most characters have it at. So with this, you can already start to see he's looking better. Apply makeup. Let's add a simple thick line. Move it down. Adjust the size to make it wider, as wide as his mouth. Move it a click. And let's give him a big... This thing should be good. Change the color. We of course want to increase the transparency. Move it down. Adjust the size so it's bigger and wider. Now already this is getting too thick, so we're going to adjust the size and make it shrink a little bit. Move that up here. Then we're going to move this up a few clicks as well. It's looking better. Okay, so we actually want to get this mouth. Luckily you can edit this at any time. And so when you get this mouth, I want to go to lipstick, edit these guys a bit. That was made too big. This other thing is far too close. In fact, let's go back to the me. Okay, so this is what we want the mouth at. Make that about the right size. Make it thicker and a little squished, since polnariff doesn't have the perfect thing. This is already looking a lot worse, so let's go ahead and make the chin immediately before it ruins the whole thing. Also, we can go to the foundation. Polnariff is very light-skinned. I think that's darker. So yeah, this is about what we want polnariff as. Now it's time to make the chin. So we're going to apply makeup. We're going to get this curvy guy. Rotate him to this position. Move him down. Just size. We're going to make him a bit shorter than the mouth and squish him quite a lot. Next we're going to grab two of these guys. So of course we'll just clone one of them, but flip it 180, move it down, and shrink significantly. Move it to about where the curve ends. And we're going to rotate it till it's about right here. We want it up quite even with the other part of the mouth right there. Copy it. I'm going to invert it. Move it over to this side. Now we get a semicircle. Rotate it 180. Change the color to orange, like that. Don't do that. And then change the opacity down. Move it down to about right here. And adjust the size so that it's squished into position. Finally, we're going to change the layering and move this all the way down until it's below literally anything that could be there. That way it acts as a shadow. Now, there is a little bit of underneath his chin, but we can ignore that for now. Okay. Most characters don't have that little bit underneath polnariff's chin, so we are going to ignore that. Instead, we still have 56 things left. So let's go apply some more makeup to the top of his head. I'm gonna look for anything that will eliminate as many lines as possible. So for instance, this thing, what we can do is we can take this, rotate it like so, move it here, rotate it again until it's like that, adjust the size so that it's wider and like fully underneath his eye. There we go. Squish it down some because it's not supposed to go that low onto his face. Make sure the color is pitch black. Then we're gonna clone it, of course. Move it to the other side and invert it. That's not right. Okay, you just need to... Oh yeah, we do need to invert it. Then rotate it till it's about the same. Move it till it's about the same distance away from the other side of his nose. And there we go. Clone it again. Move it up here. Rotate it so that it's like this. And that's when we, anytime after this, we start to realize things we did wrong. So for instance, Polnariff has an extra line that goes down the center of his head. And since it's a slight curve, but not too much, we can grab one of these guys, finally rotate the ear out, move back up here, clone this thing again, move it over here. Never really realize how wrinkly JoJo characters are until you try to draw them in Miitopia. Finally, we get to some important parts of the Part 3 characters, that being that they have square faces. So, for blush, since this applies to both sides, so we don't have to actually do anything, we want to make, first we want to get something like this, adjust the size, significantly smaller, yet again, move it up here, about right here will do. Next, just apply something random. That's not what I wanted to do. Go back to blush, edit this, clone this. Now you can go back and delete that. Go back here, select the new one, rotate it until it's at 45, move it up here, rotate it some more, move, and there you go. Now he's got the little part that just basically tells whoever's looking at it, hey, this is a 3D blocky guy. As long as you're looking at it from the front view. And you might want to do the same thing for above his eyes, because he has something up there too. Just move it up there. And look at that, we don't even have to do much to it. Maybe rotate it a little so that it's facing up. And move it back. And there we go. Now we have a very wrinkly JoJo character from part 1, 2, or 3, as they share the same art style. Except, we still have a little bit of ironing out to do. If you look at the eyebrows, you'll notice that they don't exactly have any shadow behind them. So we want to make this, actually delete that. So we want to go here, take something like that, it doesn't really matter as long as it fits the right thing, squish it, make it bigger, move it over here, so it's actually in the right spot. There we go. And then of course change its color to almost nothing and a bit orange. Move it downwards, and then of course change the layering so it's the very bottom, even below the eyes. So there you go. Now you got shadow underneath his eyelashes, but his wrinkly face still has a lot of stuff in it. We're gonna apply another circular-ish thing. That's the wrong button. Move it up here, adjust size till it's bit smaller, maybe something like that. In fact, actually it's supposed to go right here, not up there. Bit thicker, squish a little, move it down, change the color, just something to let you know that there's the, actually no, we want to since we have the room and the space and stuff, we can do each one for these little butt eyebrows individually. But most importantly, after you're done with making the first one, put it at the bottom layer. That way you don't accidentally end up with multiple things having to go down to layer 0. Now, copy that, move it over here. Copy this, move it over here. Copy this, move it up here. Make it a bit bigger. Just gotta get something up here or else it'll look a little barren. Finally, you'll want to go to Blush, apply makeup, make one of these very hard to see circles, move them all the way out here to where his 3D part is. That way there's just that little bit of extra darkness proving that that's a 3D part underneath it. And now you're good to go. You actually have a very good looking polnariff. Now you go to Wig, and you figure out what is the least bad looking hairstyle when trying to make polnariff. Because if we're realistic, you're not gonna find something that actually looks like polnariff. This is the closest I've been able to find. Most likely you'll just want to use the in-game hats. But that's how you would make polnariff, and if you follow the steps for other characters, you'll find that's how you make them too. Screw you for watching. Please be sure to dislike, unsubscribe, shoot that bell in the face, and I won't see you next time. Hello.